some election news of the past week out of the Commonwealth of Virginia here in the United States of America, where Glenn Youngkin, pictured here, the Republican, beat Terry McAuliffe, who is not pictured, but he was a Democrat. And Terry McAuliffe had been governor 2 terms ago, and they have a rule in Virginia where you can't be governor two consecutive terms. So Youngkin won by a few percentage points after trailing in the polls not too long ago. And a lot this past week has been analyzed on this front about this win, and mostly from opponents of McAuliffe's agenda, most notably opponents to McAuliffe's comments on the debate stage late in the campaign that parents should not be involved in setting school curriculum. Of course, McAuliffe backtracked on that once he got a lot of blowback, but he said it kind of without any hesitation, so that was clearly hard for him to bounce back from. And it wasn't just that some guy running in some random state made this comment. This was said in the state where the critical race theory in school debate gained momentum and garnered national attention because of those viral school board meeting altercations between parents and teachers and school board members. And there are many indications that was the driving force behind Youngkin's win here, even though depending on which news outlet you watch or read, you may be getting a different spin on this. Some are spinning this as the racist Trump supporters came out in support for Youngkin, even though both candidates were white men. Or you might see it being spun that these white Karen suburban moms helped Youngkin win as well. But also of note on that race front, in Virginia too, was lieutenant governor race was won by a Marine veteran and Jamaican American immigrant, Winsome Sears, who is now the first, she's pictured here, the first woman to be elected to statewide office in Virginia, as well as the first woman of color elected to statewide office in Virginia's history. Now, you'd think everyone across the board and across party lines would be celebrating this as the top story coming out of this race and these elections this past week. But it appears this isn't the case, because now Lieutenant Governor-elect Sears ran as, drumroll, a Republican. And in her acceptance speech, and now she's been talking about her win, she's only really acknowledging the obvious that she is clearly a black woman, but quickly pivots to her message of being a proud American immigrant, a proud Jamaican American, and how her story is the American dream, which one side appears to not want to highlight that. And this further supports the theory that I've supported of many championing people of color and women or any other minority as a means to an end for power and control and money, because if it was about the principle of supporting minorities, you wouldn't care what political party someone associates with or their views. But it is becoming more and more clear every day who the race baiting, race hustling, race grifting people are. And I'll let you I'll let you share if you'd like in the comments who comes to mind when you think of race baiting, race hustling, race grifting, or a picture in your head who comes to mind when you hear that. But I don't think there's anything more quote unquote white supremacist or quote unquote patriarchal whatever than a media blackout of coverage of the first woman of color elected to state office in this race, and even going as far as to smear her and other black people who have similar views as her as puppets of white supremacy, as if no person of color is allowed to have a mind of their own and come to a different conclusion than most of the people of the same demographic. So I thought that was a very interesting development from this, and this has been one of those stories that one side who says they're in support of this kind of thing showed their true colors when what they wanted happened, but it just happened to be part of a label that they weren't comfortable with.